Welcome to I'll Have You Know, a podcast from Rice Business. This episode is part of our Pivot series, where guests share stories of transformation in their lives and careers.
On today's episode of I'll Have You Know, I'm here with Jan Goetgeluk and Jesús Patiño, full-time MBA students graduating in 2010. And this is an exciting episode. We've got two guests on. You guys are in some ways catching up here for the first time in a bit, wow. But we're gonna talk about your story. We're gonna talk about Rice Energy Finance Summit, which you guys founded, and a whole bunch of other things, I'm sure. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Here.
So I want to just a little bit sort of kind of chronologically, one of the things I'd just love to unpack is you guys were both grew up outside of the United States. Jan, you in Belgium. Jesus, you in Mexico. And I want to just kind of ask, how did Rice eventually get on your radar? What drew you to Rice? Jan, you want to go first?
Yeah. I came to Houston for my first job out of college. I did my master's degree, undergrad and master's in Belgium, mechanical engineering. Was sent to Houston for a project and fell in love with Houston, with the US, and decided to stay. So when my company wanted me to go back to Belgium after my project, I told them, you know what, I'm gonna stay here. So I quit my job. And then I went to business school, and I was in Houston already, and Rice was just such a great school and such a good fit. That's where I ended up going.
Jesus?
So for me, I worked after college. I worked for M-I SWACO, now Schlumberger, for years offshore. In part of when you start the program, you go into what they call the MUD school. I was a drilling fluids engineer, so I came to MUD school, spent 9 weeks in Houston, and learned about Rice, about how great school it was, and I had kind of the bug for a few years. I started working, and 6 years later, when it came time to apply to business schools, I applied to a bunch of, there were top 5 schools, and Rice because of its connection to the oil and gas and the energy industry. And it turned out to be a great decision. So it was.
Love that. So Jesus, you've got a technical background. What sort of drew you to kind of that initial line of work? So
I mean, with the engineering degree, I started working overseas. I initially wanted to go into food industry, but my family, my dad worked in oil and gas. My grandfather worked in oil and gas. They were both geologists. It was just natural to find a good job in oil and gas back in Mexico. And I get a job offer to start going offshore and started doing that. Obviously, pay was good. Job was exciting, interesting projects, and we took it from there. I spent about 6 years going offshore. The last couple of years were in West Africa, so I was doing assignments, doing the rotational engineering job where you go and spend 4 weeks on and 4 weeks off. And while I was doing that, it's a story that I've told a few people. We were in the rig one night. It was like a Sunday. It was actually Monday, local time in Ghana, 2 a.m. in the morning, right? And we had to decide whether or not to pull out of to pull the downhole tool out of the well, which was going to take 2 days and probably $4 million worth of rig time, right? And we were waiting on a call from Dallas. Someone, make the decision on whether or not to continue drilling and go try to find the next contact or pull out of the hole, right? And it was kind of, okay, today's is Monday, 2 a.m. in the morning. Someone is crunching numbers back in Dallas to make a decision on what's going to happen with us and the rest, a couple of months of our lives. I'd rather doing that job rather than being here. So while it was very exciting to be, looking at, getting things done in the field, I thought that the decision process required a different type of skill set, and it was time to go to school to get it. So that's kind of what brought me to business school, and Rice was definitely the right place to.
Jan, you've also got an engineering background, mechanical engineer, I understand, spent some time in petrochemical logistics and other things. Can you talk a little bit about sort of your career leading up to your experience at Rice and what led you to kind of start down that path? And then we'll talk a bit about what you spend your time doing today, but would just love to kind of understand. I'm just trying to paint a picture of you're in Belgium, you've done this degree, and now you're kind of starting this career. What kind of got you sort of pointed down that path initially?
Yeah, my career before Rice was, in one word, short. It was very short. I did an engineering degree in Belgium because I never intended to be technical or have a technical career. I always wanted to have a business career, but an engineering degree, at least in Belgium, provides the broadest range of possible career opportunities. I also wanted to leave Belgium and go abroad, and again, having an engineering degree, especially mechanical engineering, provided a lot of opportunities to get a job abroad. And so that's why I decided to get my engineering degree. Started working for this petrochemical logistics company in Belgium. Again, for the main reason, because they promised they would send me to the US for a project. That's why I joined that company in the first place. And then they sent me to the US for a project. And then, wow, I loved it so much. And then I quit that job to stay. That was just a 7-month period, if you will. So really had barely 1 year of work experience when I joined the Rice program. I was one of the youngest guys in the class. I think I was 24, I guess, 23 or 24 when I started. I did a 5-year master program in school. So I was one of the youngest guys starting Rice.
I've been to Belgium before, love the country. What are some of the things, do you get an opportunity to go back? What are some of the things that you miss most about sort of growing up and spending time in that part of the world?
Oh yeah, I always say there's 3 things I miss about Belgium, and I love the US. I'm a US citizen now too, have dual citizenship, and I really love this country. But the 3 things I always say I miss the most is, 1, good food. I mean, the good like Belgian French cuisine, really refined taste palettes. US has that too, but it's not at the same level, I have to say. The second one is Belgian humor. It's a bit of a special kind of humor, way over the top, politically incorrect, but very funny, very dry, funny stuff. And then the last is I love EDM and techno music. And Jesus knows this, I used to like to party. Now I have 3 kids, so not as much anymore, but I do like, I at least love to go out and some good techno music, which is very hard to find in Texas. So those are the 3 things I miss the most about Belgium.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd love to sort of just kind of that initial moment that you guys kind of met. Like, what were you guys in that class together, work on a project together? Like, how did you guys sort of connect? And then would love to just sort of carry that into the discussion on the whole kind of premise for the Rice Energy Finance Summit and kind of what led to not only the concept, but sort of executing that for the first time.
Yeah, when did we meet, Jesus? It must have been day 1, I think, one of the first events, probably. I think we even had an event just for the international students, I think before school started.
We had an International Week, right?
If I remember correctly. Yeah, so even before the year officially started, I think we had an international. Do you remember that? I think we went to the Rice football stadium.
With a bunch of
do you remember that?
internationals in the first game. It was the very first week.
Just for the international students, right. Yes. I think we met very early on.
Very early.
Yeah.
And then, I don't remember, we were in the same section also, right? So
yes,
we took
right.
probably most of the core classes essentially together, right, with this... There's 2 sections.
We did.
I don't know if there's 3 sections nowadays, Scott, in the full time.
That's a good question. Yeah. I would.
I think
we'll have to fact check that. There has certainly been an expansion of the full time
up.
program. Yeah, I do believe there's an additional section now.
So yeah, it was. I mean, we were essentially in the same classes.
So spending a bunch of time together, working on kind of different things, like. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, like, sitting at Valhalla, like having a drink and like, hey, we should do this. Like, what was kind of the spark of what has turned into Refs?
That happened, I think, for a year, right?
Yeah, maybe a fun fact too, Jesus, you probably remember this, but 2008 when we started the program is when Hurricane Ike hit Houston and shut down the school, and I was staying in the Rice graduate apartments, which were hit pretty hard. Those were shut down for 2 weeks. And I actually stayed with Jesus and his wife and Camila, his 1-year-old daughter, for a few days, because of course at Rice I didn't have power or water or remember that, Jesus? Yeah, during Hurricane Ike, Jesus was kind enough to let me stay with him. So we were friends very early on. Yeah.
Yeah, there was always I guess a sense of the international student community. There was a different. We're all kind of in the same ground. Although I must say that one thing that I always saw in Jan was he seemed to be farther ahead in the plan for the program and what to do and when to. I was not nearly at the same level when it came to readiness for the investment banking interviews and all that stuff that comes very early, right? Late in the first semester. So
right.
That kind of thing always struck me like personally, I was just not and obviously I mean I was married with a 1-year-old little girl in the house who was kind of slightly. I think that gave everyone a sense of that they had more stability in life. Yeah. But that was not necessarily the case. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, you were a phase ahead of most of us in life. I was a 24-year-old single guy. Yeah, different stage in life. And then for refs, I think what happened was so I was elected to be the Rice Finance Club president in the second year. And then Jesus was elected Rice Energy Club president. And I was thinking about what I wanted to accomplish as Rice Finance Club president. And one of the items on that list was, how about a student-run conference? And I think even maybe the dean at that point was really interested in seeing that happen. And then I started talking to Jesus, why don't we do a joint, finance club, energy club, and something around finance and energy, and that's how we started talking about it and how it came to be.
And I remember that the year before, so in our first year, Kian and the guys in the they did an energy education conference event had Janet Clark as the main speaker. She was at the time the CFO of Marathon Oil, but that also got pushed because of the storm, and so that event didn't happen. It was kind of something that it was not as ambitious as REFs ended up being, but it was kind of an initial push to make something slightly bigger happen right around energy education and finance and this thing. So
that is correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. I sat down with Kian Grandmayer, who was the Rice Finance Club president of the year before, and brainstormed with him about what are all the things that we could organize, and he mentioned also the idea of a conference, which he tried, but then it didn't really work out. And then one other thing on the list was a first visit to Warren Buffett, which we organized as well. That was the first time we did that, and there were a few other things, but a student-run conference was on that list, and so and I'm a doer, so just wanted to make it happen. Yeah.
And I remember being at the student common sitting and having a chat with Jan and this whole thing of how big should we think, and it was very very adamant about thinking big and just why not try to be whoever, right? And that's when Rice came out. Jan came up with the name. The summit name that initially I thought it was. I mean, I wouldn't have come up with that, but I think it worked out really, really, really well as a name and as a brand. Well. And then we went with the dean, with Dean Glick, to make the pitch and say, okay, this is what we want to do.
It's a lot that has to come together to pull something like that off.
Yeah.
We got some big speakers. I mean, that was the key thing, and I was very impressed as a Rice MBA student. You really get incredible access to leaders in the business society, in the business community, and so we had top-notch speakers that first year. We had some CEOs and of top energy companies. It came together really, really nicely.
I keep every time I speak with a student nowadays, I always tell them that there's only 2 years in their lives where they are going to be able to start an email saying, "I am a Rice MBA student that wants to speak with you," and that line is powerful because it really resonates with people, and you get their attention, and that's a door opener that you shouldn't let go pass, right?
Yeah.
You should take full advantage of it because it really allows you to connect with people that otherwise they just won't listen to you, right?
That's right. Yeah.
You guys are touching on a few factors that I think are kind of tell the story well. That one, an experience at Rice Business is sort of opportunity to create something from nothing that might have an impact. And as students and active alumni, you've seen different programs kind of come and go, different initiatives come and go. But there's sort of this freedom to kind of create in an effort to have a positive impact. What do you think are some of the is it just kind of the right place, right time? What do you think that sort of the staying power of refs? It has become over the years one of the the largest student-led programs at Rice Business. Where do you think some of that longevity came from? Anything that kind of sticks out in the experience?
Well, I think you have to be a bit lucky with who takes the helm, because obviously we can only organize it 1 year. I think the inaugural edition, what I thought was terrific. The speakers and the attendance. The following year, we handed it off to the next group of students. Okay, they did it all right, It still happened. And then the third year was. Brian did, and actually not a fun fact, my wife, who's now my wife, was the co-chair of the third refs edition in 2012, together with Brian. I did also a great job. And so once you have a few good editions under your belt, that's where it kept rolling. But I think to your point, I think it was just a right fit for Rice Energy Finance Summit. It seems like it did fill a hole in Houston, and especially for the Rice community, and so it made sense to have it. And I think it's just a useful program that got enough interest from the community to grow. And now it's so great to see that even now, I think 12 years later, it's still going strong. So it's just fantastic.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I remember the first interview that I had with the school was with Sean Ferguson, right, who was the associate dean of degree programs, I believe, at the time. And one of it was in Mexico City, actually, in one of these career fairs, MBA fairs in Mexico City. And I had lunch with Sean, and he was telling me part of the pitch that he was making for the Rice MBA was that it's a place where you can come and do things, right? It's not in this whole that it's small enough, right, where you can actually make an impact, which sounds a little bit as a cliche, but it was very true. It turned out to be very real, and I think still is. I mean, you still see fairly newer programs, right, like the women leadership conference and all those that are. I mean, where it's a place that has enough resources to allow you to think big, right? But it's still small enough where you can have to make it happen, and that's something that I think is part of the reasons why it was a successful program, right?
I spoke to a group of Rice students on last Friday, and I said the same thing. My time at Rice was the best 2 years of my life, but you get out what you put in, and I put in a lot. And it gave me so much. I really had such an incredible time. But you get out what you put in, and for any existing students today or current students, just try to do stuff, build things, be engaged, be involved, and it's such an incredible, rich experience. Being at Rice in the business school, it's a unique time in your life, and yeah, for me, still today, the best time of my life. Yeah.
And that goes definitely to the program and also for the alumni life, right? Once you're an alum, there's always something interesting going on, right? And and being outside Houston is harder to remain involved, but attending the events that are outside Houston and just trying to be part of it, I think you always get more than what you put in, but you need to put it in.
Yeah, it's a good point, because being in Austin, I live in Austin for the viewers, it's definitely harder, because of course I was extremely engaged with Rice in Houston, and then after my time I went back to the school all the time for events and such a wonderful community, and then being away from Houston does make it harder, unfortunately.
Appreciate you guys sharing that. I think it's such an important feature for sort of current students, even alumni, prospective students, that Rice truly is a place to kind of learn, experiment, build relationships, and you kind of just never know what might have legs and and become sort of like integrated into the fabric of what Rice Business delivers, and kind of the countless impact that the summit has had over the years, and cool opportunities. I've had an opportunity to speak at REFs in the past, and so I've had a chance to kind of stay connected, and so it's really great to see. I would love to, if we could, unless I do want to ask, sort of, are there any sort of learnings from that experience in building that, whether individually or together, that you sort of reflect on or sort of help as you've kind of gone out into kind of your current expression of your career, which I want to sort of jump into as well. But before we sort of pivot off that discussion, any sort of learnings or things that
maybe that there's nothing you can't do. I mean, you want to organize a conference and make it a big success, you can. It's just a matter of doing it. A lot of people have a lot of ideas in life, and I always say ideas are like buses. There's another one every 5 minutes. You just have to do it, and you have to execute and make it happen. And that experience, and Jesus did a tremendous job building this conference, and together just gave us a lot of confidence, I think, that there's really nothing you can't do. And it is true, having the Rice, hey, I'm a Rice MBA student, being able to put it in an email actually opens up a lot of doors, which to Jesus' point, after you graduate from Rice, that you can't do that anymore. But just that level of confidence in what you can accomplish, and reaching out to top head honchos and captains of industry, and guess what? They respond to you, and they're interested, and so it was a remarkable experience.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't think. Jan, we were not thinking about any kind of flex. We just wanted to make something big, and because we didn't see any reason why the school, shouldn't have a big event in finance and energy, right? I mean, you had everything in place, a terrific venue, a school with a lot of prestige. You had all the the corporate offices of all the top energy companies and investment banks and so on and so forth. So there was no reason why all was needed. It was a ton of work by a few people, right, to make it happen. And that's what it is. I mean, there was nothing special other than get it done, right? And one thing that
was it ever in doubt? I mean, was it ever in doubt that you were going to get that first one up and off the ground? You mentioned sort of funding or other things. Was there sort of a moment, or was it just kind of like as you're marching forward, it became clear that it was going to be able to be executed?
I don't think it was ever in doubt. No, we were marching ahead and making it happen.
Hey, and Jan was able to secure a couple of speakers very early on. There was no
kind of anchored it, and at that point, the toothpaste is out of the tube. You're committed.
Yeah, before I even noticed, he had already sent a few emails and had gotten responses, and we're like, okay, well, it looks like it's happening.
You're up and running. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and also thanks to the school. I mean, a lot of these early speakers on there are also involved with the school.
Council of Overseers
some of
thing,
the-
and
Yep. Council of Overseers, and so, and of course the dean was on board, and the whole school was on board. So, when we saw that we would get some big speakers, then we knew it was going to be a success. When you get together big speakers in a room, you know you'll attract attendees, and we didn't charge all that much, frankly. I think now, Jesus, it's a lot more expensive to attend. I think, Refs. In our year, it wasn't too expensive to attend.
like that. And we had a few conversations about what is the right price tag for this.
Sure.
It was kind of a it was not nearly as nice. We didn't have the fancy luncheon or it was essentially lunch boxes and it was a lot more modest, but
the entrance fee was modest, and so we knew that if we had the speakers, we could bring together full attendance and make it a success. Yeah,
Super, love it.
I do remember though that I mean we were concerned at some point with people sign-ups, right? Because
Sure.
will people show up, right?
But that was part of the that comes with it.
Bit of a white knuckle,
and that's
right?
where that's where this lady you mentioned, we really pushed everybody to advertise it, promote it. Lots of emails were sent out, just to make sure people would sign up, and they did. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, appreciate what you guys have built. I think it doesn't have an end in sight, so it's really exciting. I think it's going to be a plank in the foundation of Rice business for years to come. I'd love to sort of just dig into a little bit your experience sort of post graduation. So you've both gone on to kind of do different careers, and so Jesus, I wanted to ask. We were talking a bit about kind of your offshore oil and gas experience, kind of after graduation. Can you just tell kind of what happened next, if you will, sort of in the story? Like, where did you go in your career, and what were some of the decision points along the way?
So after graduation, I as part of the whole REFs and Energy Club and involvement with the school, I got the opportunity to meet Jay Collins, who at the time was the CEO of Oceaneering International. It was, and I had, I kind of developed a little bit of a connection there, and they ended up opening a business analyst position at Oceaneering, and they invited me to join there. It was, I ended up interviewing with him in Katoen Natie, who was the CEO also at the time, a little bit of an odd thing for a for a business analyst position, but it was also a testament of the Rice, I guess, prestige. So I had the interview and joined the company as a business analyst. This was right after graduation. Actually, it didn't happen as part of the graduation. I did my internship with M-I SWACO, who was a company that I was working for before school. And they actually made me an offer, but it was I mean, the offer from Oceaneering was significantly better in many aspects. And with Oceaneering, I spent 11 years. I mean, covering different roles, I had a marketing job with the company. Then I did M&A for a few years. The company spent a few years actually very active in the acquisition side, so got to do that in the corporate development role for about 3 years. Then jumped in had a commercial job with the offshore intervention business of the company. Oceaneering is a subsea company. I had deepwater experience. Never did a technical job with Oceaneering. It was all either commercial, finance, or corporate development. And the last role that I had with Oceaneering was we started a business for a maritime intelligence initiative. After an acquisition that we did, the business was trying to take a different angle and start developing intelligence solutions for maritime operators outside oil and gas. And I got to run a team of data scientists to develop this platform to sell analytics. that business didn't take off in the way we expected. In the last year, I left Oceaneering and started working with a former colleague from Oceaneering in a family business that he's got here in Houston, in Pearland. We manufacture sandblasting equipment, so I'm no longer in oil and gas. It's a manufacturing operation. It's a very nice operation, very well-run business that is looking at doing an international expansion, significant international expansion over the next few years. So I came in to help with setting up that strategy and executing the strategy to help the company get into the next phase of growth. And I've been a year working with them, and it's really exciting. It's fun. I'm traveling more than I was, and it's refreshing. It's totally different, animal from corporate development, from a corporate job, but it's super fun.
That's fantastic. Jesus, you managed to kind of stay close to Rice, kind of post-graduation as well. We touched on briefly, but you've stayed connected with alumni organizations. Can you share a bit about kind of what kind of your experience there, and what motivated you to participate in the ways that you have?
Well, I always tell. I mean, it's Rice is definitely a big part of our family. As Jan said, it's probably two of the best years of our lives were spent at the program. And when we graduated, just wanted to stay involved. So I was very active, coming to events, attending to events. We bought a house fairly close to the Rice Heights area, so to campus. So it's a relatively short drive. And part of the decision of staying there was to be close to Rice, quite honestly. The undeclared reason, right? Anyway, who is there? Right. So we are close. A couple of years after graduation, I was invited to join the Alumni Association board and started working with the board. And it's a 3-year commitment that is typically extended to 3 more years, right? So it ends up being a 6-year commitment. In the last year, I had the opportunity to serve as president of the Alumni Association, so it's a good time just to be around. One thing that I also say a lot is that I have seen the value of my degree gone up over time. I mean, my equity in the school is, if the rankings are an indication, right, it has clearly come up. I don't know if I would be eligible for admission today. I'll say that much. But yeah, so I remain active. I rolled off the Alumni Association board, and the following year I was invited to join the Rice Business Partners board, right? It's a different angle, and I don't know if the folks listening know what are the roles of the different boards. The Alumni Association board essentially represents the alumni body, right, in front of the office of the dean. The Rice Business Partners is a group that helps the school connect with the corporate world, with business side of the. So you have the what used to be the Council of Overseers, that is. It changed names now. It's essentially senior executives, helping the school generally, beginners, helping the strategic direction to the dean. The Alumni Association representing the students, and then the Rice Business Partners, which is sort of represents the corporate world, the business world. So I've been working with the Rice Business Partners board for 3-4 years now, and was recently asked to serve as president, so I'm president-elect of the Rice Business Partners now, and look forward to it. We have a lot of events, and about 7 to 10 events a year that have the leadership speaker series, and then we have some roundtables, and our members can come to events, and it's always a nice event and a networking session following up, right? So it's
how do people get connected? I guess it's kind of like how I'd love to sort of like as you're kind of saying, like Rice Business Partners today, like how do people is it, organizations that sort of sign up as partners? How could alum listening sort of find ways to get connected with some of those organizations?
So I mean, there I mean, with links with more information in the school's website. Reach out to any of us, the members. Our events are always published in schools, and you can join and sign up the newsletters that we send out. And essentially, we have two types of memberships: a corporate membership and an individual membership, right? And two different price tags. Okay. Both give you access to all of our events. And the whole idea of the Rice Business Partners is operating under three pillars that we call, right? Connect, inform, and inspire. And all the things that we do are around the idea of creating connections, informing people, giving somebody some useful information for their lives, and inspiring folks to do good things, right? So it's we have the Rice Business Partners website. There's a link right there in the main site.
Sure. Yeah, we'll find a way to include it in the show notes or something as well.
Yeah, let's just reach out and we'll be happy to speak more about it.
Love it. Jan, if I could pivot to you, you sort of got a job in investment banking after kind of graduation. Can you talk a little bit about kind of your post-graduation experience and ultimately kind of what led you to the company that you're currently sort of working for? Yeah. And some of your entrepreneurial experience along the way.
Before Jan starts, sorry, let me tell you that Jan is the poster child of an MBA career for me. So every time I need to tell somebody he checks all the boxes for the pre and post MBA career. So
if you want a post MBA career in energy, finance, corporate, Jesus is a poster child. If you want to go do something entrepreneurial, with the caveat that don't try at home kind of thing. Yeah. That'll be my
under your own risk,
example.
Right?
I always wanted to do something entrepreneurial, be an entrepreneur, start my own business. But I'm an immigrant, couldn't start a business out of business school because I need a visa to stay in the country. Same with Jesus. And so I decided to get a job with the one industry that doesn't care if you're an immigrant or not, which is investment banking. They do sponsor foreign students for their visa, and also investment banking. I thought that they pay the most money, so I could make as much money as possible and save as much money as possible to then start my own business one day. So I went into investment banking, JP Morgan, investment banking. And fun fact, in fact, I was the Rice Finance Club president. I didn't take a single finance elective at Rice. I took all the entrepreneurship classes at Rice, which now the entrepreneurship program is well regarded, highly ranked, #1 in certain surveys. Yep. Rightfully so. I loved every class of it. And I actually graduated with the entrepreneurship designation. Even though I went into investment banking, which was always my temporary job, because while at JP Morgan, I was actively looking for opportunities, looking at one point to buy a business with a few former classmates, going down several entrepreneurial opportunities, most of which didn't work out. But at one point, I thought, virtual reality, I thought was going to be the next big thing. This was in 2011, 2012, a bit early. But I thought virtual reality was going to be the next big thing. And I thought the biggest problem that hadn't been solved yet was how to move around inside VR, inside the metaverse, which is now the hype term of the day. Sure. And so you need something like a treadmill, but a treadmill in 360 degrees, an omnidirectional treadmill. And I started looking into that, and nothing existed, nothing commercially viable existed. And I'm a mechanical engineer by background. So I thought, this is a mechanical problem. Let me start working on this. And so I started working on early designs of an omnidirectional treadmill, started working with a design house in Houston, then started working with a prototype shop in Pearland to make an early prototype, all while I was at JP Morgan. So this was after hours, late at night, 2, 3 a.m., or sometimes I would leave the office in the afternoon, sneak out, drive to Pearland, check on this prototype, drive back to the JP Morgan office downtown, and then work until like 3 a.m.
Yeah, all the investment bankers out there are wondering when did you have spare time? Because the IB calendar is pretty packed.
Pretty packed. It's pretty brutal. Also mentally do two different things like that at the same time. And at some point I published the first video of me using this big old prototype of the Omni. That's our core product, the Omni, this omnidirectional treadmill. I was playing this famous video game Skyrim with an old VR glasses on the Omni, and that video blew up. Hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, big press cycle. And then I thought, this was in early 2013, and then I thought, you know what, this is it. I think this is the right opportunity. I'm going to quit my job. I was about to make probably $400,000 that year with JP Morgan. But I thought, you know what, I promised myself I would quit. Another fun fact, I actually wrote a contract to myself while at Rice that I would quit my investment banking job within, I think, 3.5 or 4 years or so. I promised myself I would quit, because the risk is that you get stuck and you make a lot of money, and then that entrepreneurial dream you once had just didn't come to be. So I promised myself I would quit. And so I did quit in 2013 to launch the company, which I'm still head of today, Virtuix. And that's how it started. We're now almost 10 years further. It's been a long road. We raised over $35 million from investors. Mark Cuban is a big investor. We're still small. 55 people in the company today, 2 products in the market. We were coming out next year with our third product, which is going to be our first consumer product for the home, which is going to be our big swing at the bat. Really, the big vision we had from the start is about to come to fruition. And I think we're in for a really exciting time. And, we're supposed to be the next billion-dollar company. That's why investors invested in us. And we're not there yet, but we're having an exciting time ahead of us. So that's in a nutshell, my post-Rice career.
No, that sounds fantastic. You mentioned Mark Cuban. For folks that want to see Virtuix in action, you were on Shark Tank some years ago. I guess sort of like the entrepreneurial experience is never smooth. And so, I'd just love if you had sort of like an experience or two that you sort of reflect back on that was kind of like a, oh no, what have I done here kind of thing, or if it was always just kind of like clear kind of vision. It's an incredible story. Would just love to kind of hear your take on some of the things that you've learned along the way.
Yeah, the vision has always been clear, and still 10 years later, still the same vision, and it's still more and more coming to fruition, which is really neat, but it has been very hard. The biggest accomplishment I tell folks is that we survived, frankly. Most VR companies that started around the time I started or we started, they're long gone. It's unusual for a tech startup to be around after 10 years. Most companies are either dead or they've made it somehow or got acquired. So we survived, accomplishment number one, but it hasn't been easy at all. Fundraising for a big piece of hardware has always been hard. The first funding round we did, 2014, was extremely hard. Probably the lowest point was when my wife told me, Jan, if this doesn't work out, you're going to have to find a job, right? Very low point in my career, but pulled it off and never lost faith. Got the funding round done. Mark Cuban invested in that first round. He invested 3 times now over the years. The last time in our last round, 2 years ago. 2020 was really, really hard because our flagship product today, which was also the case in 2020, is Omni Arena, which is a turnkey attraction for big entertainment venues. We sell to Dave & Buster's, for example. In Houston, Dave & Buster's has one. Palace Social, close to Rice University, has an Omni Arena. But that's our key market, is entertainment venues, which, of course, in 2020, they all shut down in a matter of days. So our revenues went to $0 in just a few days' time. Wow. And extremely hard. We laid off people, furloughs, salary cuts, emergency fundraising, really stressful time. Probably the one time where I thought that we may not make it. But through sheer, determination and perseverance, made it through it. And we have a great team as well, and survived again. And And now we're at the cusp of delivering Omni 1, which is our Omni system for the home, the big vision we had from the start. And that's looking so promising. And we start shipping the first few units in January. So 10 years in the making, if you will, and hopefully an overnight success after 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears.
Fantastic. Guys, this has been a great discussion. I kind of want to, as we kind of wrap up, I just want to ask sort of like a what's next question. Like, what are the things that you guys are excited about, whether in your careers or with family or, time? I don't know, Jan, if you just play video games in your spare time or if you like to go do something different, sort of outside that space, but would just love to ask kind of a what's next question. Jesus, if you want to go first.
Well, yeah, I mean, family-wise, the next few years are, with kid in high school, and there will be some transitions pretty soon, thinking about college and all those things, right? Professionally, I am very excited about this project I'm involved with, about taking this company internationally and hopefully increasing the size significantly, and that's kind of where we are. It has a lot of the the entrepreneurial angles, right, going into something new, but with a very, very solid foundation, which obviously reduces the risk on my end, right? So it's really exciting. Some of the things that I thought I was actually looking at I found somewhere some of the essays that I wrote to come to Rise, and I was talking at the time about the cross in international in relation Mexico-U.S. relationship and Latin America, and my ability to understand how you do business in Mexico and in the U.S. and helping that bridge that. I mean, the natural gaps that occur right in business is looking like now I'm actually having to deliver on that. So I'm excited and I'm looking forward to it.
Exciting. Jan?
Yeah, I have 3 kids at home, including a 1-month-old baby, plus I have Virtuix, so I don't have any hobbies anymore. Mainly just working for Virtuix, and in my spare time I just spend some nice time with my family. So what's next is a really exciting time for our company and bringing the new product to market, and hopefully finally really riding it to high success, and I love what I do. Even in 2020, which was so hard, every day I was still grateful that I got to do every day what I was doing at that time. Was very hard, but having your own company, being your own boss, growing something, building something, leading a team, I just love everything about it, and so hope to keep doing that for a whole while longer.
Love it. Jesus, Jan, thanks for taking the time and being on the show.
Thanks so much. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much.
Anytime.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening. This has been I'll Have You Know, a production of Rice Business. You can find more information about our guests, hosts, and announcements on our website, business.rice.edu. Please subscribe and leave a rating wherever you find your favorite podcasts. We'd love to hear what you think. The hosts of I'll Have You Know are myself, Scott Gale, and Maya Pomeroy.